Alright, in this video we're going to talk about how we start an animation assignment like the one you're seeing in this short video. Again, basically I created this mechanical arm as a way to explain different tools and different ways to animate within Maya. Alright. So again, this exercise is going to show you how to basically set up something mechanical arm like this, or something a little more primitive, but basically following the same principles that you see here. We're going to look into parenting, also constrainings. We're going to look into the curve editor for movement and things like that. And but before we do any of that, again, the first step to something like this is basically the conceptual aspect, which is kind of thinking about what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to execute it. Alright? So, again, my initial idea for this assignment was to create something that would allow me to explain some basic principles of animation. Alright, so I kept it simple. As you can see, the rotation that this cylinder is doing right here, that the rest of the mechanical arm is kind of parented to, it's only doing a 45-degree turn to be able to do what it's doing. Alright, so I knew from the beginning that I wanted to create just a simple movement that I could make this mechanical arm recreate. Also, it needs to be able to reach at where the object that's picking up was going to be. So again, some of these extensions that you see in the animation were thought out just for the mechanical arm to be able to do that. Alright, so if you don't think about this stuff before you start, what if you create a very complex mechanical arm, but if you cannot reach to its objective and you didn't think about that before you modeled, you're gonna have to start over your assignment or something like that. So before you start anything like this, just make sure you conceptualize it. Think about what it is that you're trying to do, how you're going to execute it, and whether or not, in this case, the mechanical arm that you have actually has the ability to reach the object that it needs to, pick up and drop and things like that. Okay? So, in order to start a very, very basic concept of how to set up a mechanical arm like this. Alright? Just as I explained, and again, this is just a simple setup of a mechanical arm, and it's basically, what you're going to be seeing here is the same concept as what we're seeing here. Alright, it's basically a mechanical arm that's going to be able to rotate 45 degrees, and be able to pick up an object and drop it at another location. Okay. So, and one thing that you need to keep in mind, again, is that for this to work, is that all of these objects need to be separate. Okay, and again, for the sake of efficiency here, I'm not going to go through the process of how I modeled something like this, because again, this is supposed to be an animation lesson. If you need to brush up on your modeling skills to do something a little more complicated, I have a Maya Basics playlist on my channel, and it goes through basics on how you go about and model the Betsy Ross house that you find in Philadelphia. And again, it's all basics of modeling and how to set up a scene and things like that. All right. So again, I'm not going to be covering those concepts within these videos. All right. So basically, the parts that you're seeing here is what makes up this basic mechanical arm that you see here. All right. So, a couple of things that you need to know in order to kind of create something like this is some of the tools that Maya has in order to kind of make sure that everything's aligned correctly. Okay. Because again, at some point I'm going to explain how you go about parent the parts and make it move and stuff like that. But before we go to that, we need to make sure that all of these parts that we are, kind of bringing together makes a functional mechanical arm. And again, I need to stress the fact that this was conceptualized. Okay, so the idea again with this mechanical arm, again, it's a little different than what I have here in my final, but it's a little more basic. Is that we have this part of the mechanical arm that just kind of gives it a little bit of height. Alright, and then we have a joint here that's going to allow for rotation between this point and the other point, which is this base where it's going to drop off the box. Okay, then we have another joint here that's pretty much holding this part of the arm, where there's going to be we're going to be able to kind of create a little bit of extension so the mechanical arm can go down and pick up the box. And again, one of the reasons we don't want it pretty much at the same distance as what we have right here is because we don't want the mechanical claw to kind of go through the box as it's turning this way. Okay, so again, let me just show you how to put something like this together just by using some tools that we have here in Maya. Alright, the first tool that I'm going to show you is the aligning tool. Alright, and it's basically what I'm going to use to be able to kind of align some of these objects the way they are here. Okay, so the aligning tool, the way it works is that you have a main object, okay, and then you have the object you want to align to. So you select the one that you want to align and the one you want to align to afterwards, alright, by holding shift. Then go to modify and go to click on align tool. Alright, and it's going to give you this little bit, this kind of box, and it has this different kind of alignment points that is going to allow you to snap to. Alright, and again, what I want to do here is basically align it to the center of my cylinder here. So if I click on this one right here, it's going to bring it down to the center. Alright, now keep in mind that all of these will do something different. Okay, different type of alignment, so it kind of really depends on what you're trying to do with the object here. Okay, so now it's pretty much perfectly centered with my cylinder here. Okay, and I probably need to bring it up a little bit. This part I can eyeball a little bit. Okay, so that's fine. So again, let me just keep using the aligning tool to kind of bring some of these other parts together. So this is the part that's going to be determining pretty much the height of the mechanical arm. So again, this is the part that I want to align. This is the one that I want to align to, and then I click on go to modify align tool. Alright, and then I get my gizmo here. And again, these are going to be determined by also the position of your camera. So sometimes you're going to have to move around to find the right spot, and I think this is going to be it right there. Okay, so that wasn't. Can always undo that. Let's just click on this one right here. Alright, so it's centered right there, so that works fine. Now if I were to click on this one right here, it's going to center right to the object, but that's not what I'm intended to do here, so this is going to work just fine. Alright, and then let's bring the joint that's right here. So let's again select this one, select the one that I want to align to, and I just want to again, let's just click on this center one right here. Alright, so that brings it to the center based on the pivot of the object, and I'm just gonna have to kind of keep moving around, see if I can find the one that aligns it to the center of the object itself, which is this one. Okay, and this one is being centered right here. Okay, and again, sometimes this is kind of determined by the position of the pivot. So if I want the sphere to be aligned to let's say the center of this kind of circle right here, Another tool that I can use, it's my snapping tools. Alright, so we use the align tool to bring it here, but I can also use these snapping tools up here to be able to, for instance, bring this pivot and align it to the center of this vertex right here, which is at the center of the object. So I'm going to click on this, then I'm going to activate my snap to points or vertices. Alright, and again my pivot's going to change a little bit. So now I'm going to, just by moving it up, see if I can align it to that center pivot, to that center vertex that's right there. Okay, and that worked pretty well. So now the sphere, it's snapped right to the center of that, right the center of that face. All right. And again, if you don't want the rest of the objects that you're going to bring in into your mechanical arm to be snapped like that, you need to make sure you turn it on and off. Alright, so I'm going to turn it off for right now. Okay, so then I have this one, this piece that's going to determine basically I guess the length of the mechanical arm coming out like this, and I have the part right here. So again, I can try using my snapping tools or my align tool. I'm going to be using my align tool for this. Okay, so let's just go to modify, align. Again, gotta move in here and find the right alignment for this to work correctly. Okay. So that worked pretty well, but again, it's kind of snap at the center. We're gonna have to rotate this, so I can go into my channel box here. It's probably gonna have to be 90 degrees here. Okay. Then the rest of it I can just kind of move out by eyeballing it like that. Okay. Alright, so we have another joint, which will be this one. So I think I have an object for that. Alright, and again, I can use my align tool, I can use my snapping tool. I think I'm going to be using my snapping tool because again, I want to align it to this vertex right here. So I'm going to click on the snap to points. Alright, then I'm going to move my sphere until it's snapped to that specific point. Alright, so that worked pretty well. Then let's see, we have this part, which is I believe this one. Okay, and again I can use the same techniques. Let's use the align tool. So modify, align, and just click on the right points for it to be aligned to. And let's just move it down like this. And again, it's good. Right now my snapping tool still turned on, so if I want to do this manually, I have to kind of bring it down by myself. Let's see, so we got this part, which is this, and then we have this kind of thin cylinder, which is going to be moving up and down. Alright, and we can use the align tool for this as well. So align. Alright, and again I'm kind of moving around my perspective viewport so I can find the right aligning point. And sometimes it's going to be easier than others. Okay, and center. Okay, so that took a little bit of work. I'm just going to deselect the top one and then just bring it down. Okay, and then we have a cylinder here that's going to be kind of basically the wrist of this claws over here. And so let's just I guess I could use my snapping to vertex. Alright. Okay, so that worked pretty well. And now we have these claws. And again, one of the things that, again, we could just kind of bring him in to snap him here the best we can. We can use our alignment tools. So let's just see what kind of works a little bit better. Let's try the aligning tool, see what happens. So again, remember with the aligning tools, you have to kind of move around a little bit in your viewport to be able to find the right alignment. Sometimes it helps to kind of bring things a little bit closer. Okay. Alright, this pivots are a little bit screwy because it's giving me a wider range for this than what I need. I'm not sure why it's doing that. So let's just see what other tools we can use to, again, center these claws right. I'm just gonna eyeball this one. And I have this other part here, but rather than you know, figuring out how this one will be aligned to this piece right here, I can just kind of mirror it by using the duplicate special tool. And I don't want this to be an instance. Let's just kill it on -1 on the, what would this be? This would be the Z. So X, Y, Z, -1, and apply. Alright, just move it out this direction. Alright. Now, at this point, again, the idea is that you probably want to do some initial kind of testings on your model here, just to make sure that it's actually going to be doing what it's supposed to do. And again, we just determined that this is going to be kind of the platform where this is going to be kind of picking up the object from, and the box is probably going to be on top of this. Okay. So by this kind of initial test that we're doing here, we can determine that and again, let's just, I want to make sure that this box is kind of centered to this. So let's just align it. Okay, so alright, so it's at the center of my platform there. By doing this test, I can determine that my mechanical arm at this point is just way too down, and again, so I need to kind of make sure that it's not collapsing with these objects, so I can just select everything, bring it up a bit. Okay. And we can also establish whether or not these claws are going to work very well. One of the things that I'm going to need to do to test that is, again, very essential to animation, it's the location of your pivot. If I were to rotate this claw right now, it's going to do it right from the center. So we're going to have to move this claw or at least the pivot of it to make sure that it's rotating from maybe the center of this object, which is probably where we want it to rotate from anyway. So by holding, let's see, D, again, that's going to allow me to change the location of my pivot. I'm going to turn on my wireframe here, and then I want to turn on my snap to vertex. Alright, so by doing that, let me just do the same with this one. By doing that, I'm testing whether the claws are going to be able to rotate correctly and grab the object from that specific pivot. Alright, so again, I can just kind of eyeball this as well. Alright, so again, that worked pretty well. The last thing that I want to do at this point before I do anything else is freeze transform the objects that I kind of put in the right place. Now, the reason for that is because one is going to help with the animation process, but also it's a good idea to get in the habit of doing this, because by freeze transforming your objects, it basically going to reset the attributes in your channel box. Okay, so I mean, if you select everything, notice that everything has the location in the X, Y, Z, and perhaps some rotation information or something like that. When you freeze transform, again, it resets everything. So if I were to, let's say, move this object right here by accident, and let's say that for some reason I didn't undo it right away, then I wouldn't be able to kind of bring it back to its original position unless I start snapping with these objects, you know, like I did before again. And again, sometimes it's not going to be that easy. But if I freeze transform, and again, I'm just going to go to modify, freeze transform here, notice that everything kind of went to 0 here. So it makes it easier for me to bring it back to this point. For instance, if I move this here somewhere in my viewport, alright, and if all I need to do to bring it back to this point is basically change all of these to zeros, and kind of brings it back to the original position. Alright. So again, when it comes to animation, kind of being able to come back to the original position, it's very important. So at this point, you know, I would freeze transform everything to make sure that if I move anything by accident, I can always bring it back to the position where it needs to be. So again, just to finish up here, another thing that I like to do again is set up the other platform where the box is going to be kind of left at. Alright, so to do that, let's see what we can do here, because again, what I want to do, it's basically set it up so the mechanical arm is only rotating 45 degrees. So I want to make sure that I can rotate this right here in this direction and place it right at 45 degrees from this point. So to do that, I'm going to hold D, and I'm going to change the location of my pivot here, and I want to align it to the center of this object right here. So by holding D, snap to vertex, sometimes in cases like this it makes sense maybe to isolate these two. So I'm going to go to show, view selected. Alright, so again I'm holding D, and now it's snapped to the center of my platform here. So what I want to do now is make a copy of this and just kind of rotate it 45 degrees. Alright, so I can do a duplicate, okay, and take this duplicate and just do a rotation on the Y, just make it negative 90, sorry. Alright, so that makes it at exactly 90 degrees where I want it to be. Okay, let me just bring back everything. And again, the last thing that I want to do is just select everything and just go to modify and freeze the transformation, so I can always bring everything back to the original position. Alright, so again, I just set up this mechanical arm the same way that I had it kind of laid out here. The tools that we covered in this video are the aligning tool, and we also use the snap to vertex or snap to point. Okay, and we also looked into the freeze transforming, and we also talked about changing the location of your pivot by holding D. Alright, so in the next video we're gonna take this simple mechanical arm that we set up, and we're gonna start talking about parenting, and we're also gonna cover how to set up some of the kind of controls we're gonna assign to it for the animation process.